You're watching Your Vote on Your TV. My name is Barry Wright. Joining me now is Jacques Boudreau. He's the Libertarian candidate for the upcoming February 27th election. Thanks for taking time to join us.
My pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about who Jacques Boudreau is all about.
Well, I'm an actuary by trade. That is, I'm a financial security expert, you could call, where I spent 38 years of my career for a life insurance company. I mean, actuaries in general work on the pricing, the design, the valuation, the financial security systems, such as pensions, life insurance, disability insurance, things of that nature. So my area of expertise is very much along that line, right? And I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm running, because Ontario is a terrible, terrible mess regarding, well, its debt level and healthcare in particular.
Right, right. You've answered my next question, which is why you're running. So obviously we got that out of the way.
Well, I mean, but it's more than that. I mean, the Libertarian Party stands for the smallest government that we can get away with, and right now regulations are killing small businesses. Taxation level are too high. Government is ever growing, and every time the government grows, our freedoms are cut back a little bit. So right. we need to push back.
The Libertarian Party, as you say, obviously wants to cut red tape and bureaucracy and that sort of thing. Does the party want to sort of cut those all out, or are we just looking to sort of streamline?
Well, when it comes to regulation, the way it works right now is that people who come with them thinks it's a win-win-win, right? They never acknowledge, by definition, that an additional regulation is a restriction on freedom. Now, we can step back and say, in some cases, the reduction in freedom is outweighed by the benefit that it brings. But this type of pros and cons is completely absent right now. I mean, people bring out regulation, again, on the assumption that it's only providing a good. So I think the way I see it, there would be a very significant decrease in regulation, but they wouldn't disappear completely.
Right, right. We talked a little bit off air about people that you've talked to in the riding and some of the things that they are bringing to your attention. And the three tenets that most people seem to want to talk about are housing, healthcare, and education. So we'll sort of tackle those one by one. What's the party's platform when it comes to education? I guess both primary education and post-secondary.
Well, when it comes to education, again, because we believe in freedom, we want to give people a choice. And somebody who, like a parent, because we have to remember, parents love and know their children more than anybody else. Certainly far more than a politician or a bureaucrat, and they would know what is best for their children. So as such, we offer three choices. We would offer three choices. Number one is people who like the public system the way it is would be free to continue to send their children to them. People who want some kind of government oversight but want the choice of sending their child somewhere else could use a voucher system. That means that the money would kind of follow wherever they would send the children, but government would still have an oversight over curriculum or whatever. And then parents who don't want the government to be involved at all would get a refund on their tax dollars and then use that dollar to send to whatever school they think best, okay. Right? So again, it's freedom. You like the public system, you get to keep it. You don't like it, you go somewhere else. So that's the last one is what we call the opt-out version. Healthcare. Now here, I have to start by saying that demography, which is something that I had to study as an actuary, is often said demography is destiny, because it is inevitable, the movement of people as they age, because every single one of them gets older by a year every single year.
We can't fight that, right?
Right. And so with a set of assumptions, you can predict what's going to happen to the population. And I can tell you that people who think that the healthcare system right now has got problem, they haven't seen anything yet. Because I have done the numbers, and I would predict that things are going to get worse until the year 2041 or so. So something needs to happen. We cannot continue. And it's a question of massive amount of demand, right? The baby boomers are now, the people at the very front end of the baby boomers are turning, depending on the year you decide to, ascribe baby boomers to people, but they are going to turn 77 or 78 this year. And it's only going to get worse because baby boomers represent a very, very large segment of the population. So we are entering a massive amount of demand on the healthcare system because as we get older, there are more ailments and it's costly. So we need to, so that's the demand side, we need to increase the supply side, the supply of medical services. And the way we want to do this is, again, there's an opt-out version where you can take your Medicare money and go somewhere else where the supply exists. But we want to facilitate, because right now there are indeed barriers to accrediting people who come from different jurisdictions. And we want to tell the federal government to get lost in terms of these restrictions of preventing the delivery of healthcare by private enterprises. Because I take, for example, Brian Day, who is an orthopedic surgeon in BC and sued his government, unfortunately lost and all that, but he was saying that I, as a surgeon, and many of my colleagues, I am an entrepreneur. And given the ability to provide more services, I would. But right now I'm preventing from doing that. So we want to open that up as well.
Right, right. And very quickly, unfortunately we're almost out of time, but very quickly, some thoughts as far as the housing issue is concerned, obviously at a critical stage in Sarnia.
Yeah, now housing is complex because, again, in terms of supply and demand, there are many elements. There's no doubt that right now we're letting in too many people for a capacity to house them, right? So the demand side has to be decreased to a level that is more appropriate. And of course, that's outside the provincial government. So what we would do is argue the case as best we can to the federal government. And in terms of permits and zoning, well, that's a municipal issue. Now, the provincial government has quite a bit of leeway in terms of leaning on these municipalities, and that's sort of what would need to happen. Right. So we need to encourage them to change zoning or to provide permits faster on the demand side, and then talk to the federal government on on the supply side, and talk to the federal government on the demand side. All
right, the final word is yours. Just give us about 20 seconds or so as to why people should mark their X beside your name.
I would say to people, look at what's going on in Argentina right now. Argentina was a basket case. They now have a libertarian president who is cutting back the government massively, and everything is improving. Employment is up, rent prices are coming down, investor confidence is up. We can do the same thing in Ontario.
All right. Jacques Boudreau, thanks so much for taking time. You'll find Jacques' name on the ballot under the Libertarian Party of Ontario. Thank you for taking time.
Well, thank you for having me.